And with that being said, teammates, we are going to get the meat of our training started, man. Big shout out to everybody that went to licensing class this past weekend. We did have some teammates, but now you have an assignment. That's just part of the assignment. Now you got to finish the job. And for those who are in the licensing process, you hadn't quite even gone to class yet, maybe you just joined and all that good stuff, we got the perfect person to talk to you wherever you at in the licensing process right now. I am super fired up and excited to bring to the microphone a friend of Rahima and I's, she and her husband, Byron. So, you know, just great people. I've been knowing them ever since pre-regional vice president days back in Dallas when we were in the Breakfast Club. They were in Charles Whitener's base shop. I was in Stephen Phoenicia's base shop and all that good stuff, man. And man, we used to be in that pressure cooker environment together, just wanting to be somebody. And so they became regional vice presidents. Rahima and I, we became regional vice presidents. And I'm here to tell you right now, man, that she's become connected with home office. She is our field licensing director extraordinaire, and she gets bragged on all the time. And so I'm excited for the first time to have her come and do our hierarchy training to talk to us about the nuances and the importance and the steps we need to follow to get licensed, the awesome and the amazing. If you guys don't mind, go ahead and come off mute. You're already clapping. You're already welcoming her. Go ahead and come off mute. You're already clapping. You're already welcoming her. The awesome and the amazing Miss Laura Armstrong. Laura, you have the mic, my sister.
Welcome, Laura.
Welcome,
Thank
Laura.
you.
Thank you for coming to share the good news with us.
Welcome. Look, y'all, I am so excited. You know, I always love hearing the incentives. Hey, you got the peanut butter, not the jelly. I'm going to steal that, Nick. I'm going to use that. Because let me tell y'all, licensing is like having the peanut butter and the jelly with no bread. Okay, because the bread is what holds everything together. So as your licensing director, and I do remember Breakfast Club, I think I got a little PTSD from that, but it pushed all of us to grow. So I'm so excited about that. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for those of you that have your camera on. It makes us feel less crazy when we're talking to a camera. So thank you for that. But listen, guys, I'm here to talk to you about licensing. It is not the most exciting thing about Primerica for sure, but it is one of the most direct evaluators of your business. You know, if Nick and his beautiful wife decided they wanted to sell their business, the company, before they even look at production, they say, how big are they? How many codes do they have? That's the biggest driver of the value of your business. Because if all your business comes only from you, let's say it was only them, they only do personal production. The minute they leave the company, so does everything, right? Whereas when you got a licensed team, they may move on to whatever they're moving on to, but you guys are going to keep producing because you're still working for your families. So listen, guys, I'm going to talk to you about how to get your people licensed quickly by using the tools that the company already provides for you. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, okay? Because we got it for you. So I'm going to share with you guys a couple different concepts. So first of all, you all heard Coach Glenn at convention. We're on a mission to 200K licensed agents. He initially told us 150, and right before we got to convention, he changed it up. Okay, so now we're at 200. But listen, guys, since convention, because of the Game Changer, we have gotten over 86,000 recruits. Over 8,000 of those came from Texas, right? So now it's time to go convert those. So we need to stop calling people recruits. We need to convert them to licensed representatives. Don't forget, this month, they complete pre-licensing class, their first 30 days. They bank $150. They still have to do the trigger. The trigger's one by one, but completing class, you know, just by doing these two little things, they already banked $200. So they're already in the red, right, from them coming to this company. But look, the numbers are the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. So let's look at licensing, right? Like some of the people that got recognized this evening for recruiting. A recruit that gets a recruit, their first 2 weeks is 4 times more likely to get licensed. That's with you doing absolutely nothing, right? Just getting them a recruit. If you look to the far right, if we get them to complete pre-licensing class their first 30 days, 8 times more likely to get licensed. But now, you know, part of your selling point was to get people to earn a field training bonus, right? So we need to leverage that. If they do the minimum, and in my opinion, the minimum is 3 by 3, right? 3 by 3 is 3 recruits by 3,000 in production. You will minimally bank $600. By doing that, they have 75, they're 75% more likely to get licensed. See, guys, we have to remember that recruits don't come here because, you know I didn't come here because I needed new friends. We came here because we were looking for something else, right? We were looking for more money. We were looking for career change. We're looking for something other than a social club. So we need to take this money-making thing serious. So how do we grow? Well, licensing, that conversation needs to be part of field training. It has to be, right? If we focus on what I call the big 4, the big 4 is class registrations, attendance, completions, and scheduled exams. When we focus on that, everything else moves. And then, of course, a tracking system. When you have a tracking system, accountability makes everything move, right? Recruit Tracker is an amazing tool. Myself and my team, we provide training on Recruit Tracker to help you track your people. I call it your licensing Bible because it tells you absolutely everything about your recruit. Now, listen, y'all, field training bonus gives you 90 days. 90 days is forever, okay? We're going to get all these people licensed in less than 30 days. So how do we do that? Day 1, within 24 hours of the IBA, we get them to download the Primerica app. Why? Because we want them to get instant gratification, correct? For earning field training bonus. We also want to register them for a pre-licensing class. Now, the best absolute choice is in person. Right? In person is the best choice, but whatever your RVP wants you to use, register them for pre-licensing class. The other thing that's going to be a game changer is to register them for the state exam before they even go to class. Right? We want to secure that date so they get the date and time they choose. And we want to do that before they even show up. So when they show up to school, you know, they're docked and loaded. They already got their exam date. They're going to attend and complete class between week 2 and 3 of their Primerica life, right? It's expected they complete pre-licensing class between week 2 and 3, no matter how they do it, right? So if your recruit is in North Dakota and they're doing the online class, they still got 7 days to finish. The state exam should be taken within 7 days of class completion. 7 days. Immediately after class. Now in Texas, I assume a lot of us are here from Texas. It's one weekend, right? So no excuse Monday. Immediately after class, we need them to prepare to pass the state exam. That means that they must take unassisted practice exams every day until test date. Let me tell you guys, if you follow this timeline, which is get them to complete class, test a week later with a daily practice exam in between, that will give you 81% pass rate first time. That means 8 out of 10 recruits will pass the first time with flying colors, right? When we move past the 7 days of the exam post-class, it gets more difficult. Not because the exam is more difficult, just because you're going to forget stuff, right? So we need to go and collapse that. Now, every single person that has a recruit on their team, they receive an email every Monday and Thursday. This gives you a quick snapshot of where your team is at in the licensing process. So it'll tell you, Nick, you got 3 people that are not registered for class. It's actionable, which means if he clicks on it, it'll take them straight to those recruits. And then it'll, the next link is to register them for class. Or those that need an exam date, or those that completed class and need to take a practice test. This tool is amazing. Y'all check your email every Monday and Thursday. Now, listen, I know you're recruiting everywhere, right? So outside of your home state, you know, let's say you recruit someone in Florida, you're like, what the heck do they do in Florida? Well, the quick reference chart is your friend, okay? On POL, Life Licensing tab, get your license, click on quick reference chart. Here you will see what's required for every single state. You'll see the exam provider, the test fee. Perhaps you want to know if they test in Spanish, if they do remote testing. 99% of your questions will be answered by clicking on this little chart. It'll save you tons of time. No need to call or email RLC. You could see it all in this handy chart. The other thing you could see on the same Life Licensing tab, we have all the pre-licensing class options, right? So if you wanted to take a quick snapshot and say, hey, what do they offer in Florida? For example, you could just click on that option. You could see how many review sessions are. And if you find something you like, you simply click the register button, and in one click, you could register your recruit. Now, listen, guys, Texas puts up more licenses than everybody else, okay? We have a staff of amazing licensing coaches all over the company, but specifically in Texas. In Texas, there's over 54 in-person classes available, 27 Zoom classes available, 10 weekday classes, 5 Spanish classes, and coming soon at the end of this month, they just added a schedule. We're going to have weeknight classes, guys. That means on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, your recruit could show up. Perhaps this is ideal for those that either have to make up a session or it's just hard for them to go on a weekend, and now they could do it on a weeknight. Keep an eye out on POL, again, on the class schedule, and you will see that schedule. So we talked about the top 4, right? So again, the top 4, registrations, exams, attends, and completes. Let me tell you guys, you as a leader need to drive the exam date. When we leave it up to our recruits, they will never feel ready, right? Because, I mean, we've heard it a million times. Oh, Nick, I'm going to schedule my test when I'm ready. Well, you're never going to feel ready, so we might as well knock it out. Now, we already know the formula, right? If they go to class, test a week later, 81% pass rate. So scheduling the exam is vital. Pushing attends. If you register them for a Primerica sponsored class with technology, we remind your recruits, so make sure they got POL and they're opted in for text messages. We send your recruits a text message 3 days and 1 day before class with all the class information. And then, of course, class completions, making sure that they complete it. And what do we have outside the classroom? We know the classroom, guys. The in-person class is your #1 resource. Zoom is second, online is third, right? We, as a leader, need to make a call which one we're going to use. We know that in-person gives you the best success. If they're on Zoom, Zoom is convenient, but we need to prep our people for school, right? So some of those things include saying, hey, Nick, your camera's going to have to be on the whole time. Do you have something other than your phone to do this class in? Is there somewhere quiet? Is your pretty wife going to take the kids out for Saturday? Where's she taking them, right? Because you need to be somewhere that's uninterrupted. We need to have these conversations, y'all, because if we just get them on Zoom, people do crazy stuff on Zoom. You know, we've seen all kinds of things in our Zoom classes. We've seen them picking up Amazon boxes, grocery shopping, at kids' soccer games, all kinds of stuff, except paying attention. So make sure you prep them for Zoom class if you choose to use that option. We have MP4s they could download. Well, as they're driving to work, as they're cooking dinner, just have them listen to the audio. It's just to get them familiar with the information. The practice exam, non-negotiable, right? Non-negotiable. It is the only way we could measure retention. So even when your recruits tell you, well, Laura, the way I study is, and we fill in the blank. Well, that's fabulous, but we still have to do the practice test, okay? We need to make sure that they feel the pressure of going through the multiple choice questions. So practice test, non-negotiable, short videos, pre-recorded review sessions, live review sessions over Zoom that are interactive, so the recruit could hop on and ask whatever they want to ask, and then study hall, which is ask the experts. This is simply where, you know, your recruit is ready to test tomorrow and they just have one quick question. then they want some clarification, extra reassurance on a specific topic, they could hop on the study hall and just ask the teacher and then hop right off. We have all these resources available to your recruits all over the country. If the state allows Spanish testing, all the resources are available in both languages. Now, scheduling the exams, if you're like, hey, I'm not sure where to schedule my recruit because perhaps they don't live in Texas and I'm not familiar, then just click on the button, right? For the recruits, it's extra easy because it's right on their homepage. For you, you could go on POL Life Licensing tab and then click on scheduling the exam. So the secret recipe, as I already stated a couple times, you want to get your people licensed fast. This is the recipe. Register them for class within 24 hours. We assure that we get the date and time we choose. Complete class within 7 days. Schedule the state exam prior to class. And you say, no worries, Nick, the minute you pass your test, we will reimburse you. We find that recruits that prepay for the state exam have a higher and faster pass rate than those that don't. That's why we encourage it. And then a daily practice exam. So guys, let me tell you, we try to make this licensing thing a difficult thing, but it ain't difficult, okay? We just gotta move fast. And in case you missed it, Texas, you are in a contest, right? So we had a challenge to take over Texas. We want to challenge a base shop, a team, to beat the Texas licensing record. Right now, the record holder is Whitney and Rob Cooper with 27.25 licenses. You have 4 opportunities, August, September, October, November, to take over the record. And I can help you, right? So one of the things we'll do, if you say, Laura, coach me on how to track these people, how to navigate these folks through the licensing system, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you and your licensing specialist or your office staff on how to become an absolute master at licensing. And with that, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I'm just excited to help you guys grow and take over. And let me tell you guys, with your recruits, sometimes we get recruits that say, Nick, I took you to everybody I know, and they took you to 2 people, right? They took you to 2 people, they're 50 years old, born and raised in Katy, Texas, and they're like, that's all I know is 2 people. Something magical happens that when they get their license, now they're like, Nick, all my 138 relatives live in Katy, Texas, in the same zip code, right? They get new energy because now they see the money. So when we want to get people to get licensed, guys, I would highly encourage you and discourage you from using acronyms, right? We get new recruits and we sound crazy to people, y'all, right? I start telling Nick, oh my God, my SVP is the next $500,000 earner, and my upline is the next $1 million earner. You're going to be a district leader. We start saying all this stuff, and the recruiters like, they can't even pronounce Primerica, right? They're still saying Primerica, but they know money. See, if I get my recruit in here, I keep sticking that app in them and say, hey, Nick, you got $600 waiting on you. As soon as you get me a 70 on this test, he knows money. He'll understand all the lingo in the fact that he qualified for a district promotion or whatever promotion he qualified for. He'll get it later, but initially I need to put some money in his hands, in one hand and the license in the other. So with that, Nick, I'll send it back to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. This is fantastic and amazing. What a great training, just covering all of the main points of emphasis that we need to be stressing and that we need to be focused on when we're taking somebody through the licensing process. It's not a mystery. You know, there is a secret recipe in order to have good licensing numbers. All we got to do as coaches is to lead people and direct people through that process. I know we might have some of the leaders that have some questions for you, Laura. If you got a quick second to maybe take a couple of questions. I wanted to see if anybody had any questions. Coach B-Walk, I'll start with you if you had any questions. And then Sean, I see your hand up. B-Walk, okay, doesn't have any questions. So Sean, talk to us. What question do you have for Laura?
Hey, Laura, how are you? Thank you so much for coming to our training.
Yes, yes. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm on one camera and not on the other. So let me at least say my question. I recently had a recruit join from Georgia, and they lived in LaGrange, I think was the name of the location. There were the locations were pretty far apart in Georgia, and there weren't a lot of selections related to locations. I know we may run into states where there may be few and far between actual classes. I know typically the best thing to do is get them there. Is there also some information related to best way to help them if it really would be a hardship to drive? This particular person would have had to drive one way about an hour and a half for each of the 3 days in Georgia.
Sure. Well, you know, if they lived in Houston, it'd be no problem, right? It takes an hour to go anywhere in Houston. But in Georgia, so if it's not reasonable, it's not feasible for them to drive, then we got, if the state offers a Zoom option, which Georgia does not, but if they offered a Zoom option, Zoom would be your second choice. So with this particular recruit, we'd have to do it online, right? But with online, you need to give them guidance. So we register them for the online course. You give them the 5-minute tutorial, which is basically click here where it says launch course. And then you need to set them free. Now, some of the things you could use, I talked about the study resources. I would perhaps have them watch, you know, when they start the course, have them watch the first webinar, which covers 2 chapters, the pre-recorded webinar, have them watch that just so they get familiar, and then have them do online as they move on to chapter, you know, 2 and 3, now going on to 4, go back to the second webinar, watch the next section, and then continue through it. That's what's going to help them navigate through the course. And then once they complete, same thing, exam simulator. If they get stuck, now they could plug into the live review webinars where they're interactive with a licensing coach, and then the coach could kind of handhold them from there.
Good stuff. That's
Appreciate
awesome.
your help. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. Anybody else have any questions for Laura? Any questions? If you can, put your raised hand emoji up and we'll get to you. Well, while they're doing that, Laura, I do have a question. I know sometimes, you know, we might have a new person that joins, and we're talking to them about, hey, this is the process. This is what you want to do. And they hear us, but they don't necessarily execute the way that we present it to them. And the test doesn't get scheduled before they go to class, and they go to class and they say, hey, I'm studying, I'm trying to perfect this thing, I'm trying to master everything, I'm trying to memorize everything. And 1 week after class can turn into 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, Lord Jesus, 4 weeks. And now they're out of class. Like, what is your recommendation for a person that's in that position where they've gone to class 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, have not tested yet? Do you recommend they go back to class, or you recommend that they just dive into the stuff? Like what's your recommendation for somebody that's in that position?
Well, I have 2 recommendations. One of them is very direct. Okay. So the first one is you need to make your plan known, which is go to class, schedule the exam, practice exam in between, right? If they decide they're going to run a different play, then I say you don't help them run a different play, right? So here's what I mean by that. They tell you, Nick, I don't want to do that, but can you sit with me on Thursday at 10 p.m. and help me with my study material? And because you're a nice guy, you're going to sit with them. I'm telling you, it's counterproductive. So I would discourage that, okay? I would say, no, you just claim ignorance, right? The licensing coaches know the book like the back of their hand. So send them to the licensing coach. Now, if it's been 3-4 weeks from class, then I would recommend they go back to class. It's just too much information. The analogy I use every single time is this. Nick, what did you have for lunch last Tuesday?
I have no idea.
You're like, I ate for sure, like probably, right? And we eat every day. We eat multiple times a day, and we like eating, right? He doesn't remember what he ate, so how is he supposed to remember what a contingent beneficiary is? Two words that he ain't never heard of in his life, and he heard that 4 weeks ago. He's not going to remember. So I would send them back to class. And again, if you know, when they're stuck, you say, well, hey, that's why I told you to run this play. So let's start over and let's run this play, and then have them go back to the drawing board.
Very good. Very good. Awesome. Awesome. You know, Omar Rodriguez. This guy. I know, Laura. You know Omar. He is licensing coach extraordinaire here in Texas.
He is.
recognized
He
by the company.
is.
Yeah, he
Yes, sir.
taught our team. So I recruited Omar personally. Yeah. And so
Hey, Omar.
Yeah.
Hey, Laura. Good to see you. Good to see everybody.
Good to, man. So y'all got home team advantage. You didn't even need me on here. Omar is one of the best licensing coaches in Texas, and I'm not just saying that because he's on here. But let me tell you, everybody knows this guy's name that deals with anything with licensing classes in Texas.
Right. Hey, I just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying, Laura. Thanks for the training. Also, one thing that I would suggest is when you are offering coach help, like if one of your recruits, Nick, are not really doing what they're supposed to, the only way they can earn the right to be with a coach or get help through the coach is going to be they have been practicing online. And that's an easy way for everybody to see, especially you, the RVP, right, or the trainer. The way for them to earn the credit or the help direct with a recruit is going to be they have practice online. Because like me, I don't talk to anybody or I don't help anybody on a one-on-one kind of deal unless they have practice the practice online. Because then that way you know they're serious about it. So
yeah, and thank you for that, Omar. And actually, I get those calls all the time, right? My recruit needs tutoring. So this is what I tell my RVPs. If they must have attended and completed class within the last 30 days, have at least 3 practice exams done before I even refer them to somebody, because otherwise there's nothing for the licensing coaches to review. They don't know where the recruit is stuck. Same thing if they failed the exam. If they failed the exam and never completed class, they don't need a tutor. They need to go back to class, right? So that is really important, that when people ask for help, we make sure that that one, it's going to be productive and helpful to the recruit, which means they already have some ground, right? They already looked at some stuff, so the coach could identify where they're stuck.
And 2 things really quick. One thing that I would suggest all the recruiters to add to their preparation for classes, one, let them know what to expect in class. They're going to be sitting, whether it's through Zoom or live, have water, have something to take notes with. If it's a Zoom class, have the camera on, have the solution ready, kind of give them an idea of what's going to happen during class. And then the next thing is also follow up with them, right? To make sure they're okay, they're hanging in there, right? And also have that conversation on how to handle the stress of taking the exam, because a lot of people, it's just stress, it's just nerves, they're afraid of taking the exam. And I think that conversation helps all the new recruits. One, because they just joined a new company, they just joined a team that they probably just met, right, or a person, right? And then taking a test, that's a stressful moment. So having that conversation of you're going to be stressed or you're going to be maybe fearful of the exam, don't be. So just kind of like have that conversation on how to deal with the stress of either being anxious for the test or be afraid of it. I think that eases them up a little bit as far as registering and taking the exam.
Very good stuff, guys. Thank you so much, Omar, for weighing in on this conversation. This is a very, very important conversation because not only we want to recruit, but Laura, like you say, we want to get people licensed, because to me, that's building. Recruiting and writing premium, that's not building. It's how many of those recruits did you get licensed? And then once licensed, we want them to become productive. And so you've given us the secret sauce, the recipe, the cheat code to be able to make this happen. It's, a lot, some of us leaders, we knew these things, but I wanted you to broadcast the stuff that we've been saying and that we've been shouting from the rooftops. So, everybody can know from this point going forward, we're recording this training. from this point going forward that, hey, this is the way. These are the steps you need to follow in order to get licensed. So we thank you so much for your time. We know you got another meeting to get to. But
Yes, sir.
if you don't mind, please come off mute and give a rousing thank you to our field licensing director, Ms. Laura Armstrong. Please do that for us.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
Big time.
Thank you.
Thank you.